Hello and welcome to the Energy Connect studio at the Egypt Energy Show, EGYPES 2024 in Cairo. I'm delighted to be joined by Ben Neal, Head of HSSEQ at P&O Maritime Logistics. Thanks for joining me, Ben.
Thanks, Julian.
And Carsten Sonne-Schmidt, Partner at Digital Energy. Thanks a lot for joining, Carsten.
Thank you, Julian.
Now, let's start off with you, Ben. How is P&O Maritime Logistics looking to achieve its sustainability commitments?
Okay, so we have our decarbonisation pathway, which has set ambitious goals for the short, medium and long term. Short term, we're looking to reduce our emissions by 28%, medium to be carbon neutral by 2040, and long term to be net zero by 2050. We're doing this in a number of ways. We're fortunate in our industry to have the 10 principles for decarbonising the OSV sector, which we use as guidelines for directing us on our decarbonisation journey.
That's really interesting. And Carsten, how and what are energy companies looking for when it comes to the supply chains?
Energy companies have traditionally looked at the supply chain for reliability and then cost. Reliability, because one piece of missing material or piece of missing equipment can mean downtime on an asset, and the profit loss or the revenue loss of that material not being there or not being available can be massive. So it has been traditionally a clear focus on reliability, and the cost of that is typically inefficiency. So most of the operations I've seen, booming warehouses, low utilization on the logistics, because of that focus, laser sharp focus on reliability. And so your supply chain becomes the residual of that contingency planning.
Yeah, so will play a key role. And to you, Ben, how does your logistics platform support energy companies' decarbonisation efforts then?
Well, I've heard this words quite a few times at this conference today, and low-hanging fruit. And our logistics platform really is one of the low-hanging fruits in terms of studies that we've done in conjunction with Digital Energy show that by using the AI and the logistics platform, we can see reductions in up to 40% in fuel consumption just by better planning and the removing the hurry up and wait that's sort of synonymous with logistics at the moment in our industry.
Yes, and that is partly probably to do, the focus has changed over the last few years of what can help reduce emissions and what needs to be brought into the industry to move it forward, I assume. Yeah,
so again, historically, the focus has been on the cost and the profit element. And looking at the supply chain through that lens, it is really marginal in the value creation of an energy company. They need to produce oil, and that's where the value is. But if you take the emission lens instead, then most of the initiatives on an energy production platform has been taken, and you are left with a supply chain that represents 30, 40, 50% of the emissions of what an oil and gas company or energy company can control. So we see more and more focus now going into that supply chain, whether you want to call it Scope 3 focus, that's semantics. We hope that we'll see more and more initiatives there, and it requires collaboration, but definitely the focus is changing.
Absolutely, and in the OSV industry, Ben, what do you see some of the main decarbonisation principles that need to be there?
Okay, so as I spoke about, the 10 decarbonisation principles are based on a white paper from industry leaders such as Total, Equinor, Maersk Supply Services have all been involved in this paper, and it looks at three main areas. The first being sourcing criteria. So how tendering being done and how is it incorporating decarbonisation initiatives. We then have vessel optimization, and that's where we get into looking at fuel, better planning like logistics, behaviour of people, technical upgrades, and then the final area is reporting, and that focuses on data standardisation. It's a big challenge at the moment in getting the right data and standardising it across our industry. And finally, transparency. And I think that's a key part. You know, we're open and honest by our emissions, and as an industry, we can all look at how we improve. And going on to collaboration, just recently at COP28, certainly in the OSV sector, a number of big players agreed to adopt these principles moving forward. And
yeah, that's really good. And I think COP28 brought everyone together and focused them. And again, here, Carsten, you know, what needs to be done, do you think, to make this, you know, leap that the supply chain needs for a sustainable future?
I think the principles that Ben just mentioned is a good start. Personally, I believe there's a lot of potential in planning. But to do planning optimal, you need more players than just the OSV industry. Planning goes from the sourcing of a material to the activity planning with the energy company. So the quantum leap for me is making that an integrated platform through data standardization, through transparency, and then start optimizing. So we avoid having suboptimal optimization within all of the different vendors and lose track on accountability. So quantum leap for me, end-to-end optimization, and that can be done through platforms such as the logistics platform or other tools.
That's really, interesting to hear. And before we go, I just want to touch on with you, Ben, elaborating more on your decarbonisation campaign, which is Are All Steps Matter?
Yeah, so All Steps Matter, again, it comes from the 10 Principles white paper. At the moment, if you look into the OSV sector, very few companies are building new vessels. So this new ammonia-powered ship or hydrogen-powered or whatever fuel it be, it's not going to be in the near future. And the All Steps Matter is all around every incremental step we take on board the vessel, albeit turn off a light, albeit better voyage planning, looking at logistics platform. All these steps contribute to the decarbonisation of our industry. It won't get us to net zero, but it will help us on the way. And
you know, we're here in Cairo for the Egypt Energy Show. I think you were talking on a panel in the sustainability conference. I mean, that shows that, you know, these kind of conferences are really focusing on the sustainability, decarbonisation angle, and that's a good thing then.
Yeah. You know, if you think back to HSSEQ last year, it was all around decarbonisation, sustainability. You see it here as well in Cairo. It's a hot topic, and the fact that the energy companies are here talking about it actually fills me with a lot of optimism. There's a lot of our clients, our contractors, they're all here. We're all on the same page and moving in the same direction. Could we collaborate more? Absolutely. But I do believe that we are slowly heading in the right direction.
That's good to hear. And your thoughts as well on that, Carsten?
I will go back and say collaboration. Collaboration is ahead. There's a lot of good talk, and there's been a lot of good cleanup inside the Scope 1 and Scope 2 domain of the different companies. But now it's really to move into true end-to-end optimization and collaboration.
Great. I'm glad you're both agreed on that. And I just want to thank you both for giving me your time on this day 2 of Egypt Energy Show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Enjoyed our conversation. Thanks everyone for watching, and I look forward to bringing you more studio interviews from the show floor in the coming days.